Hey, and welcome to Gooner Down Under TV. And boy, it feels good to finally say that we've beaten City. Look, I don't care if it was a Community Shield game, if it was an All-Star Challenge, if it was even a water drinking contest. I think we finally needed to beat them. And it came at a good time, just before the season started. And I think a lot of that goes to show with Ramsdale saying similar things where he doesn't know how it's necessarily going to impact the season, but it's at least good to see that they can finally beat City. I think we've performed well against them in the past, but never able to produce a result, not even a draw. Usually, even when we play good, they have one or two chances and they score. To be fair, it honestly could have been a very similar game in the Community Shield. We held them out for a lot of it. They had one chance with Palmer. Foden probably could have scored and it would be an entirely different story. But that's the thing about football, sometimes it's those really small margins and they create completely different outcomes. But regardless, I'm still happy just to finally beat them. Hopefully, this can replicate into the league, but we'll have to see. But at least for this game, I thought it was a really good coached game by Arteta. And I feel like he's definitely not getting his flowers. I think there was 3 pivotal moments where he sort of went against what I thought, or maybe a lot of the fan base thought he would do. And all of them turned out to be good. We ended up winning the game. That first one, I feel like no one expected Havertz to start up front. Yes, he's done it for Chelsea in the past, but, he hasn't played 1 minute of preseason in that striker position. Mikel boldly puts him up front. I think most of us thought it would be Eddie or Trossard. But, that was the first thing he did, sort of against the grain. The second one, when we go 1-0 down, takes off Rice, doesn't take off Havertz, brings him back into that 8 position. I thought that was the second big decision of his. And that third one, changing to a 3 at the back, taking off, I think it was Gabriel, and having a back 3 of Tierney, Saliba, and White. And then, from there, he had many sort of creators on the field, Smith Rowe, Vieira, Odegaard. And what I like to see about this is just the flexibility that this team has. We don't always need to play one way. Arteta can do many different things with this team, and it was good to see, even against City, where, there was still a lot of stake on this game. I feel like if we lost, we would have got bantered. But now that we won, it's sort of just a friendly. But, even in this game, he was bold and, it paid off. And just really quickly, I feel like we can sort of diminish that whole it's just a friendly game. I feel like that's sort of just the narrative because Arsenal's winning. Mikel and Pep, they're not going to take a friendly that seriously. They're not going to be running up and down the touchline when they score. Like, you could see it from the players, the managers, the fans. It meant a lot. Now, I'm not saying it meant, the Champions League final or even a Premier League game, but it's still silverware. It's sort of good momentum to start the season. Similar to how some of the cups have their final towards the end of the season, it's sort of that nice little momentum boost to finish off the season. This one, just the same, except it's the start of the season. I know there's sort of that Community Shield curse, but look, if there's ever a time to break it, it'd love to be now. But I think, it does give us that good sort of foundation to be able to do good this season. Now, on to the game itself. First, I'm going to start with Havertz. I feel like he's just getting absolutely roasted for playing well. He had 2 chances. First one, I feel like if Jesus was able to make something out of nothing like he did, control the ball, at least get a shot off, people would laud him. But because it's Havertz, it was a clear chance that he should have done better on. And look, the second one, he should have probably done better on. But, one chance in a game, Jesus probably would have missed that as well. We don't have any clinical strikers in this team. But what Havertz did do really well was give us an option up front. There's so many times where people just bouncing the ball up to him. He was holding it, playing it off into the midfield. And I think, he's definitely a physical presence that we don't have. He's big, 6'4". He can give us a target man to be able to sort of beat a lot of pressing teams. And I think, maybe against teams like City or Liverpool, he might be our best option up front. We don't need to sort of try and play through that press. He does give us a good option just to ping it through. Besides that, he did make a couple good tackles. put in some good balls. But the main thing was, he worked hard. He made the Man City defense work hard as well. And I think he played well. Going on to Rice, I think as well, he had moments. I feel like a lot of the fan base is a lot more patient with him than Havertz. I'm not saying to slack him, but I think they should both be given the same amount of time. I feel like, I don't know if it's maybe because he's English or because he did well in West Ham, but I don't see much at all on Rice. And both of those players have sort of different systems that they need to bend into. And so I'm going to give both of them time. I'm not going to say anything on them yet, except for the fact that they've had good moments. And that's about it. The season hasn't even started yet, but I'm hoping to see a lot more from the pair of them. Alternatively, the one player who we brought in was the cheapest, maybe people had the least expectations for, has exceeded everything of mine. Urian Timber, he's an absolute specimen. I think he should be nailing down that left-back position until Zinchenko sort of wins it back off him potentially. But for the meantime, I want to see Timber playing week in, week out. He can get up and down the pitch. He puts himself in great places, drive with the ball. He's very athletic. And you mix that with his smoothness on the ball. I just think he was an absolute quality buy. And I think we've done so well to be able to pick him up, especially for relatively cheap in today's market. Last couple of things I sort of want to talk on the game. I thought, defensively we were very good. In preseason, there were a lot of question marks. We were very open, leaking a lot of goals. But I think yesterday, we did very well to keep City really to maybe 2 or 3 chances. They had some half chances, but, when you're versing City and you can hold them down like that, I think, we smothered them. We were very sensible with our defense. Starting from Havertz, right up front, all the way to Ramsdale, our shape was really good. We didn't let them play in our sort of third too much. And I thought it was really, really good signs. I think Rice and Partey as a double pivot might be the go in those big games. And you never know, maybe Havertz is that man up front. But besides that, I just want to single out Saliba and White. Very good. Hopefully that can continue. They can stay injury-free. That would be absolutely amazing. But yeah, first silverware of the season. If you want to count the Emirates Cup as well, and maybe the skills challenge, we sort of got a little treble on our hands. But no, for real, it was a good test. It was sort of just good to beat City, have that mental block cleared, and I think we're looking really good for that first game of the season. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. I always love to hear your inputs. And if you haven't already, check out my other content. You should be able to see it somewhere around here. There'll be a lot more to come throughout the season. But today, that's all for me. Peace.